Tell me something about John Hambrick, the man.
John Hambrick, the man. Well, he's a righteous person. He's a good, straight-shooting, honest person who will tell you whether you agree with him or not. Will tell you exactly how he feels about something, and he'll tell you why he feels about it like that. A lot of his decisions are made from a place of faith, and he lives by his faith. He lives by his ideals, and I actually really admire that.
Sheree, you were his attache from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Tell
I
me about
was.
that.
Well, we started in 2009. We first met through our email conversations, and he seemed like a pretty straight shooter, and he told me he has a wicked sense of humor and a little sarcasm every once in a while, and I went, okay, that's nice to be prepared for. And his first day here, I told him I was Justice Secretary, and he informed me that just is not in his vocabulary because there is no such thing as just a secretary. He needed exactly what he'd heard I do, which is be a personal assistant, be his teammate, be his partner, and for the past, 6 sessions, we have done just that. Not as much this session as usual, and that's what I miss dearly, is that daily interaction with a really good person. You know, there's a lot of good people in this building, but this is a whole definite world of our own. So.
Nice. How was that first day when he came in?
It was hilarious. It was fast-paced, and he didn't require a lot of attention or a lot of, I didn't have to babysit him. He was already very self-sufficient. I made his boards up with all kinds of wonderful color coding, so each committee would be different. And his calendar had everything color-coded. And he looked at it and looked at me and said, I'm colorblind. And I looked at my color-coded files and went, you won't be able to find anything in there. And he said, that's okay, because that's your job to find it. So I have since made everything in black and white and shades of gray. But it was fun, and we had his entire family came in for opening day. He had some very good friends that came in all the way from Florida as well. And he asked me to make him a reservation for dinner, which I said, okay, the 6 of you. And he said, no, 8. I want you and your husband to come with us. My husband has never been invited to anything from a legislator, and I personally had not been out to dinner with my previous legislators. So I was rather, amazed and really impressed. And my husband was very impressed on his first meeting with John, and they discussed many things in the world. They're the same age, only my husband went the musician hippie route, an independent voter, and Mr. Hambrick had been Secret Service, fraud investigation, Health and Human Services fraud investigation. So we were looking at 2 entirely different worlds. By the end of the dinner, and still to this day, my husband believes that he is the only Republican that he would vote for, and if he could vote for John, he would actually have gone down and registered Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought that was a giant step for a man that I argue with quite often, since I'm ex-military and he was a protester. So it's always interesting to see that one man can make that big an impression on somebody.
Yeah. So you're part of John's family now. Tell me a little bit about that.
I love being a part of his family. we contact each other throughout the years, even when I'm not anywhere close to being here. On the off years, we're still in communication. We've gone and had dinner in Las Vegas at his house. I've got to celebrate his first grandchild with him, which was really neat because he brought in pictures the day one. He's a very proud grandpa, and John Jr. had a child, and then also married into a family with children, so now he has more than one grandchild. He's always been family comes first. When his wife was ill with cancer treatments and was losing her hair, he shaved his head to be in solidarity with his wife. She told him the next treatment time she did not want him to shave his head anymore because then people knew what condition she was in, and she would really rather not have that be as bold. But he's been by her side for all their cancer treatments, and this session was very difficult for him and for me because he's not a sad person. He doesn't get sad. But when he was unable to be with her during her chemo treatments because of his own treatments, it really affected him. He really was very upset about it. And so when he was released to do treatments at home, he was then able to go with her to chemo. And in fact, yesterday he took a treatment and she sat in the chair by his side while he had an IV treatment, and he sits by her side when she has her chemo treatments. I admire that from a woman who's happily married. It just says a lot to me. They've been married over 55 years, and you can still see them holding hands and snuggling, and they kiss. They even on the phone. It's if she's in Vegas and he's here, it's I love you, I love you. She watches his hearings. She watches him in floor session. She's a very large part of his life, and he's a very large part of hers and mine. He's been around for he remembers my birthdays. He just amazes me. I just really care about him.
Tell me about his leadership.
I think he's an excellent leader. I think that he has a way of leading people that's different from a lot of the styles I've seen. He doesn't need to have his name out everywhere. He just needs to have the purpose of what's going on happening. And if somebody within his grouping really wants their name out there on something, he'll step back and allow that as long as the legislation goes forward. As long as the good that's supposed to come out of it happens, he doesn't have to have his name on it. He doesn't have to be the one talking in front of the cameras. He is willing to let his team members take the credit. He's willing to let his team members share the spotlight with him. He's always invited myself and his interns over for bill signings. I think he's pretty awesome in that way. And if you talk to any of the committee secretaries, you'll see that he is just as kind and easy to work with as anybody in this building ever has been. Yes. He is very appreciative of the people that have done anything for him in his times he's here. He starts out the sessions with peanut brittle for the legislative police that we have, and this is very intense peanut brittle. It takes a whole day for he and his wife to make peanut brittle, and they come in every session and they give it to them. He had me get flowers for all the committee secretaries his first session here, and he's continued gifting each year as they have helped him. Whatever committee he's been in, he's always done that. He takes care of the janitorial. He throws pizza parties for groups of people that he thinks have done wonderful things, and it's just always totally unexpected. It's one of a kind around here.
So nice. Tell me about your favorite experience with him, something that you thought was the funniest moments.
There have been some rather wild ones. In previous sessions, the fact that he has participated in the silly Attache games that I arrange around here. Crazy Hat Day, which started as Happy Hat Day for Assemblyman John Marvel, who made smiles, so it started with that one. And when he found out that I had a day where people were wearing hats, and I utilized my office to become a hat store, basically, so everybody can play. Mr. Hambrick went and brought his hat up, had his wife bring his hat up from Las Vegas, and he has been a part of my Happy Hat Day every day, every session he's been here. When I was thinking about it last night, one of the funniest things was when we were in the bad boy office. It was a very small office, and it seemed that anybody that got sent in there was really not on the "you're a great guy" list. And we had a window looking out onto the top of the assembly chamber's roof. And his office was rather small, so he requested, as a joke, he requested a door be put in, and maybe we could just like put some flooring down out there, and he could have an outside terrace to make his office big enough for, to have people come and visit. One of his constituents heard what he was wanting. She got a picture of a door and blew it up to giant size, and we put it on his wall and put a set of stairs in front of it, and we took a picture which went into our yearbook of him looking like he was opening the door to his office and walking out into this beautiful paradise. It was fun. He went so far as to make a request to General Services to have it done, and they knew it was a joke. It didn't go over with everybody as well, till we explained it was a joke, and then it was all right. But I think that definitely had to have been my funniest moment for him. And then the next session, we went from the smallest office to the speaker's office. So they would say from the basement to the attic, from the bad boy's office to la da da. So it was a fun year.
Tell me a little about the leadership office.
Oh, being in the speaker's office was my greatest honor. And Mr. Hambrick will tell you it was also his greatest honor. He took it very seriously, and I think he did a wonderful job, because we made it a very welcoming office, a very fun office as much as we could. We tried to do as many interesting events with the people as possible. I think we may have been the first people to really decorate for St. Patrick's Day in the chambers. We had stuff everywhere. And even then, he gave credit. He let other people take the credit that he should have taken, or at least in my impression, that he deserved. But he allowed others to get the credits and the honors, and he just did the job that he was asked to do. And he did it with class.
What about the atmosphere in that office?
I think the atmosphere was very, well, I changed it from being kind of scary to go down there and to something that was a little more welcoming. I mean, it was the first time that I had been here that the Republicans were in charge, and we wanted everybody to feel, from both parties, that they were welcome. So it became a lot more personable, a lot more welcoming. That's about the only way I can say it. We we really did have a lot of fun events. Lady Sandoval asked for a denim day, and so we took a giant picture of all the legislators and staff that came in denim that day, and it's another picture that I treasure.
If there was one thing you could say about Assemblyman and the man, John Hambrick, to a stranger who doesn't know who he is, what would you say?
That this is a man that listens to anybody and to everybody. He may not agree with you, but by the time you leave this office, you will at least understand where he's coming from. And most people have appreciated the honesty and the candor and the care that he puts into his answers and into his appreciation of them as people bringing forth a cause. He never belittles their cause. He never belittles anybody that comes to bring their problems or their issues to him. He may not agree with them. He may not vote with them. He may not support their issue. But they're never angry when they leave this office. And they're never, muttering under their breath about this legislator. And they're like, he's a good guy. And they walk out of this office with that impression.
And his decision-making, you've talked about that, what he holds as priorities of helping him make decisions.
Right. When he makes a decision, he explains it. And a lot of times it is faith-based, and that is something he lives by. He'll tell you when you first come in, I'm a staunch Irish Roman Catholic person, and I live by my faith. Family comes first. He tries to do his issues are centered around family and people. As he's gotten into juvenile offenders and into sex trafficking issues, these are all very near and dear to his heart, to try to help out the victims of both of those issues. The one issue he still has people get a little upset with him on is the marijuana issues, but he is determined that as long as it is a federal offense, he will not vote for it because he never wants to make a Nevadan a felon. So even if the state allows it, as long as the federal doesn't, his belief is he has to protect his people. And that's, he goes on that, and sometimes it's not the most, I don't want to say politically correct, it's not the most popular, that's it. It's not the most popular choice, but he stands behind him. And anytime he stands behind his vote, whether I agree with it or not, I'm with him all the way.
Do you have anything personal you'd like to say to John? Because he will be watching this at some point.
Other than I miss him, that's it.